Hello and welcome. I'm Brandon Torres.
And I'm Michelle Morales, and this is the Pacific Coast News for the County of San Mateo.
It's Wednesday, January 15th, 2014, and this is the news for the week.
During the January 13th Pacifica City Council meeting, 2 residents of the Pacific Sky States told the City Council they felt betrayed by the city during its January 6th hearing, where the city's 1991 rent control ordinance is being challenged by the owners of the mobile park located at 1300 Palmetto Avenue.
My name is Deborah Mallon. I'm one of the mobile homeowners fighting the $1,119 a month rent increase in Pacific Skies Estates. I'm here tonight because I believe someone within Pacifica city government threw us under the bus. On October the 16th, I received a notice from Pacifica's planning department that they had accepted the park's application for a rent increase on 15 homes. I and my neighbor went to speak to the acting city manager, who referred us to the planning department, where we were able to review the 8-inch high application and get copies of some of the documents. We were advised to call weekly for updates and to write letters or emails that would be included in the application packet for the hearing officer to review. Please remember this point. On October the 23rd, we hired an attorney to write a letter on our behalf. The attorney emailed a 10-page PDF file to the planning department stating reasons the increase should be denied and the application dismissed. From October 21 to November the 13th, I called or emailed for weekly updates. I learned that letters, emails, and phone calls had been received from over half of the people affected, and that the park was getting copies of everything submitted as it's public information. On December the 13th, Jeff Hyman and Shirley Gibson through the San Mateo Legal Aid Society take on our case. Thank goodness, because with hindsight, we would have been like lambs to the slaughter without them. On December the 23rd, I received a copy of the park attorney's opening brief. The park is now requesting us to pay $78,000 in legal, accounting, and consulting fees. The hearing begins on January 6th as scheduled. On January 7th, our attorneys were prepared to discuss service reductions. The park's attorney objects as he claims there's been no notice of service reductions given. Our attorneys state letters were written and sent by homeowners and sent to the planning department. This is where I learned that none of our correspondence was included in the packet the judge received. We will never know what the judge's ruling would have been if he had been allowed to review the attorney's letter or our testimonials regarding the history of the park, the financial burden this increase would place on individuals, the deterioration of the park's service reductions, as well as loss of amenities. The park somehow knew these items hadn't been sent to the judge. Someone with influence in Pacifica's city government structure made a decision that our input had no value. Someone decided these documents weren't important, that we were not important. Again, someone threw us under the bus. We were engaged in what we considered a high-stake poker game, and we found out that we had no cards in our hand. I thought one of city government's duties was to protect its citizens.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right. Thank you.
Okay.
It's going to get this major rent increase also, and I'll make it as brief as possible, but I was stunned to find out that the hearing officer, who was a retired judge, didn't get my personal letter on how it affects me or any of the others that we sent in, and the brief from the attorney that we scraped enough money to get a brief sent to this hearing officer. What kind of planning commission that looks you in the eye and tells you that I will submit personal letters to the hearing officer for you and on how massive the rent increase will affect me personally, and then instead makes copies for the corporate investors and owners of the park that we're dealing with that's trying to yank my house out from under me. Being a war veteran, this is like giving war plans to the enemy, the other side, which would be treason. This act is not just sabotage in our case, but I find it in fact criminal. And it tells me that the agency seems to be tainted or possibly corrupt that we depended on to help us. I hope I'm wrong. That's all I'm just saying.
Those are pretty strong allegations. I'd like to see us follow up. Okay.
However, the City Council doesn't play a role in this application process. Deborah Mallon and Don Nardello said that they were told that if they wrote letters to the planning department on how each would personally be affected by the rent increase, it would be considered at the time of the hearing. So many of the residents did. Yet, on the day of the hearing, Mallon and Nardello learned that the letters were not submitted as part of the hearing. The mobile park owner is requesting permission to raise rent for 15 spaces where the tenants own their mobile home by $1,119.58 per space per month, on top of the approximately $800 to $1,300 monthly rent the mobile homeowners are already paying. That is about a 70% increase. The mobile homeowners are seniors and veterans who are all on fixed incomes and will be forced out of their homes if the requested increase is approved. In addition, all have lived in the mobile park for decades and said if they choose to sell their homes, they are not allowed to sell to anyone besides Pacific Skies. The park owner justifies the request for the increase based on costly improvements to the park, including a $1.5 million pavement project, a new fence, landscaping, and plans to upgrade all the utilities in the park, beginning with the sewer work going on now. The residents turned to the legal aid of Society of San Mateo. It was through legal aid's directing attorney Shirley Gibson and volunteer attorney Jeff Hyman that the residents learned that their letters weren't submitted for the hearing. Planning Director George White appointed retired Judge David Garcia of Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Services as the hearing officer for the application. Assistant Planner Christina Horsberger has been the main contact for the residents, and when Pacific Coast News asked her about the letters, she said the hearing officer drafted a hearing notice and case management order number 1, which he asked the city to send out to the applicant and the residents. The city sent the hearing officer's order to both the applicant and the residents on December 5th, 1 month before the hearing, and again as a reminder on December 20th. The order described the hearing procedure and stated that the parties, the residents, and the applicant should submit evidence directly to the hearing officer using the procedures he provided.
Half Moon Bay High School campus was locked down for about 15 minutes on January 9th, in addition to a shelter in place for the surrounding residents, while local authorities searched for a suspect who ran from the sheriff at the Shell gas station on Main Street and Highway 92 a little after 7 a.m. Residents were alerted by a reverse 911 to stay inside of their homes and to report any suspicious persons. Authorities were alerted of a car driving recklessly on Highway 92 towards Half Moon Bay by a caller who gave the sheriff a description of the car along with the license plate number. The sheriff checked the license plate of the red 2006 Dodge Charger, and it was revealed that it was stolen from Oakland the night before. The suspect, who was described as a Hispanic man in his early 20s, approximately 6 feet tall, thin, with dark hair, and wearing dark clothing, ran into the cemetery. The deputy, who is a canine handler, used his dog to track the suspect on the east side of the cemetery near the Hilltop Mobile Home Park. While searching for the suspect, the sheriff was notified by the San Mateo Police Department that they had been contacted by a female Half Moon Bay resident who reported being carjacked in the parking lot of the Hilltop Mobile Home Park. The victim had just dropped off her children and was sitting in her 2009 white Nissan sedan when the same suspect entered her car and forced her to drive him to San Mateo. The suspect got out of the car on the 600 block of Concar Drive and ran away. Numerous San Mateo police officers responded and searched extensively for hours. In addition, the sheriffs checked the trains and buses in the area. However, but they were not able to locate the suspect. Sheriff's detectives, coordinating with San Mateo County Vehicle Theft Task Force in the San Mateo Police Department to process evidence and follow up on the leads to identify the suspect. Any persons who may have witnessed this crime or have information regarding the identity of the suspect is asked to contact Detective Hector Acosta at 650-4064. San Mateo County Sheriff's Office Anonymous Tip Line at 1-800-547-2700. Rebecca Rosenblatt said incidents such as these are extremely rare anywhere in San Mateo County. Also at Half Moon Bay, Sheriff's Department took a report of a 20-foot tree that was cut down from the quad area on January 8th. The estimated cost to replace the tree is $500. Deputy Rebecca Rosenblatt said, "We are unaware of any other related incidents of trees being cut down on the coast, and this report was taken for information purposes at the school's request, since there was no witnesses to this crime or suspect information to pursue."
Now moving on to the Coastal Court update. On January 7th, a preliminary hearing for Jeremy Castro, 27, was held. Castro is a Pacifican who's been charged with sexual battery, false imprisonment, and violating his probation for a similar act in San Francisco in 2012. The Pacifica Police Department responded to the area of Manor Drive and Monterey Road for a report of a sexual battery that had just occurred on December 23rd at 9:47 a.m. The victim told responding officers that she was walking eastbound on Manor Drive near Monterey Road when she was approached by Castro, someone she didn't know, and reported being restrained and sexually battered by the suspect. Within 5 minutes of the assault, a Pacifica police officer located and arrested the suspect in the 400 block of Manor Drive. His hearing will take place January 24th. Castro remains in custody and his bail is set at $25,000. Another report examining the competency of Mark Furlan is due in court on January 23rd by Dr. Mark Patterson. This report will most likely be the judge's deciding factor, since the last report that was submitted on December 12th conflicted with the first. Furlan is charged with the death of Keith Coffey. On October 17, 2012, at approximately 5:15 a.m., Pacifica police found Furlan trying to dispose of the body of Keith Coffey on Dell Road after two tenants contacted police after fleeing the house. At that time, it was Pacifica's first homicide since 2000. Judge Barbara Malik is presiding over the court. Christina Mazzei of San Carlos is defending Furlan, and Deputy District Attorney Sean Gallagher is the prosecutor. Furlan remains in custody without bail. Also on January 23rd, Paul David Messersmith, 47, another Pacifica resident, will be entering a plea after being charged with forcible rape, rape by using an intoxicating substance, sexual battery, and battery after his girlfriend's daughter reported being drugged and raped by him. He allegedly put Zolpidem in some ice cream. Zolpidem is typically better known by brand names like Ambien. He was arrested on December 11th and remains in custody without bail. According to the Daily Journal, if he is convicted, he faces life in prison because of the rape by intoxication charge. Richard Willis, the Daly City resident that was arrested on October 4th in Burlingame by both Pacifica and Burlingame Police Departments, will have a preliminary hearing on February 20th, where Judge Stephen Haw will be presiding over the case. Willis was arrested and charged with attempted murder for beating a 25-year-old San Bruno female resident. On September 29th at approximately 4:30 p.m., the Pacifica Police Department responded to a call of an assault that was occurring on the 300 block of Esplanade Avenue. Upon arrival, officers located the victim, who was beaten with a baseball bat and was suffering from major injuries, including to her head. The victim was transported to a local hospital. Pacifica police detectives assigned to the case were able to determine the incident stemmed from an ongoing dispute between Willis and the victim. If convicted of all charges, Willis will be prosecuted under the three strikes law. Willis has a history of priors dating back to 1995. Some of the charges are receiving stolen property, having a gun in a school zone. He has 3 felony convictions and 8 misdemeanor convictions. Charles Smith is Willis's attorney, and Megan Wilkins is prosecuting the case. Willis remains in the custody of the county's San Mateo County Jail with a $750,000 bail.
If you haven't noticed yet, some of SamTrans bus stops have notices saying, effective January 26, quite a few bus stops are being discontinued in the Park Pacifica area. That is when SamTrans will launch a set of innovative pilot programs combining fixed route transit schedules with on-call features in Pacifica and San Carlos this month. As part of its service plan, a comprehensive overhaul of the bus agency's transportation network, the FLX Pacifica and FLX San Carlos are created to meet the needs of the community while filling gaps in the local transit network. The FLX Pacific will provide a flexible fixed route service in the Lindemar area between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on the weekdays. Here you can see what the new route will look like. While it may have a fixed schedule, residents will be able to call and reserve a bus pickup within a half a mile of the existing route. Both the FLX Pacifica and FLX San Carlos will feature 25-foot shuttle buses capable of carrying 16 passengers. The standard SamTrans fare policy will apply to the services. The pilot programs in Pacifica and San Carlos reflect the goals of the service plan, which was undertaken to improve efficiency, grow ridership, and increase reliability by doing more with its works, less of what doesn't, and trying new things. There will also be a host of other changes on the 26th as well.
Surf End at West Point Beach in El Granada is one of the beaches that tested positively for high concentration of indicator bacteria and has a warning sign posted. The sign is posted to alert the public that there may be a risk of illness associated with swimming in contaminated water and are an advisory rather than a quarantine or beach closure. Signs are also posted at Capistrano Beach in Half Moon Bay and Outer Harbor Beach in El Granado. The indicator bacteria include total coliform, E. coli, and enterococcosis. Persons using recreational water posted by the county health officials do so at their own risk. When high indicator bacteria levels are found, the site is posted with a warning sign and is retested to confirm the results. This week, San Pedro Creek at Lindemar Beach in Pacifica is the only creek to have a posted warning signs. When swimming at ocean beaches with creeks that cross the beach, the county recommends to avoid recreational activity in the creek, as well as in the ocean water in the immediate area of the creek. While the creek water may look calmer and safer to play in, it typically has a higher bacteria count than the ocean water. The county also suggests to avoid going in the water during rainstorms. Swimming in areas close to urban streams and storm drain outlets should be avoided during and for up to 3 days after the end of a rainfall due to the increased levels of bacteria caused by rainfall runoff. San Mateo County routinely tests 43 sites each week, including ocean beaches, creek mouths, and bay lagoon beaches. Sites are sampled every Monday morning by a combination of county staff and volunteers, primarily associated with the local chapter of the Surfrider Foundation.
Under the new Affordable Care Act, no one can be turned away for a pre-existing health condition. More people earning low incomes now qualify for Medi-Cal. Many people who do not get coverage under their employer are eligible for tax credits that reduce the cost of private health insurance plans. While the December 23rd deadline to begin health coverage on January 1st has passed, you can still enroll now to meet the next deadline, which is January 15th, to have coverage beginning on February 1st. After March 31st, all U.S. citizens and legal residents will be required to have health insurance or pay a tax penalty. For health insurance plans offered by Covered California, you must enroll during open enrollment. After open enrollment ends on March 31st, you will not be able to get health care coverage through the marketplace until the next annual enrollment period, which begins in October. Unless you have a qualifying life event such as losing a job, the death of a spouse, or birth of a child, you may also be eligible for Medi-Cal, where enrollment is available year-round. Most people must have health coverage by 2014 or pay a fee called Individual Shared Responsibility Payment. Some people may qualify for an exemption to this fee and not have to pay. If you are enrolled in a Covered California plan before the December 23rd deadline, remember that you have your coverage begin on January 1st. You must also need to pay your share of the premium before January 6th. If you enroll in a plan after the 15th of each month, you will be covered on the first day of the second following month. For example, if you miss the January 15th deadline and enroll between January 16th and January 31st, you will have coverage beginning March 1st. It's important to remember that paying the fee doesn't mean you have health insurance coverage, and you will be responsible for 100% of the cost of your medical care. Call 800-300-1506 or WW Covered California. San Mateo County staff are also available to help you and your family enroll. Call 650-616-2002.
And that's the news on the coast for this week and our first broadcast for this year. We're always interested in receiving news, tips, suggestions, videos, or feedback. Please email us at patcoastnews@yahoo.com. You can always follow us on our Twitter, where we have the same handle, @patcoastnews. Our next broadcast will be on January 29th. Please join us again then.